What's going on, running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans? Welcome to Talking in Ovals. I'm Alex Cuesta. How's everybody doing out there on this Monday, December 5th of 2022? Holy crap, Hyatt, it's already December. What are we doing?
Crazy, man. I guess, getting ready for Santa. So
as again, partner in crime over there, Dave Hyatt, he's with us. So if before I get going, anything fun, like, share, follow, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Word of mouth blog. Go find us on Twitter, Talking in Ovals. Get that out of the way. Last week, we had an interesting episode. So last week's episode was with Scott Davern. We talked a little bit of USADA stuff. Fun fact about that one, if any astute listeners were there was no date in that one. I edited that out nice and cleanly. We recorded that episode months ago. It was strung up. It was hung up between hanging out in my outbox and hanging out with USADA because there were, I have a mouth. I say some things and USADA's like, we can't have that image. And we understand that completely here at Talking in Ovals. So
absolutely. We
edited it up. It's really good information. If you are a current runner at the collegiate elite level, go check out that episode because it's a lot of really good information about testing and about what USADA is there to do and how they could be an ally. They're not a boogeyman. So definitely go on there. Listen to Scott talk about Save Haven. That was lots of fun. So I certainly encourage everyone to go back and listen to that episode. So once again, partner in crime, Dave Hyatt, what's going on?
Not much, man. Just still talked about this last weekend with the NCAA nationals. You had the cross-country nationals for high school. There was some awesome stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of good races going on. And maybe one day we'll do another episode. We'll do a side episode where we start talking about some more of the races. But unfortunately, we still don't have any PRs to talk about. We've been having now. Here's the thing. I love your friends, Hyatt, but I'm going to start picking on them now. Coach after coach after coach after coach, all cross-country coaches, and we don't have a single PR sitting in our lap. Get on your boys, Coach.
I have to, yeah.
And I know some of them are listening. Coach, Adam, Wilfredo, whoever's out there. I know you guys are listening.
Steve Geiger,
come on now. So definitely get us your PRs out there. We want them. We want to give people shout outs. We had some good Marist runners, but you know what? I'm not going to talk about that because the Marist runners have to tell it to me. And I'm tired of only talking about Marist. I want to talk about people around the country. So send us your PRs. Speaking of PRs, our guest today is very familiar with them as well. He went to my high school. Well, not my high school, our high school, Manchester Township. He is easily the greatest distance runner to ever step foot in that school. Went to Penn State, had a really good career over at Penn State, and, ended up being one of my good buddies, even though I think he's almost a decade my senior. He is Ian Hahn. What's going on, brother?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Good. I'm really pumped to have you on. Absolutely. You were someone that I know when me and Hyatt were talking about people to have on, we were kind of pegging people we knew. Like Hyatt was throwing out a lot of his, buddies that we've had on. And, we both kind of were like, oh, we need to talk to Ian. You were someone who was my mentor. You competed against Dave. So, it was just a really cool thing. And I'm really happy that you decided to come on and do this.
No, it's cool, man. It's good to reconnect with both of you.
Yeah,
it's been a long time. A long time, right? It's
been way too long. Now we're all old. We all have families. The glory days of running are behind us, man.
Way behind us, man. It's crazy. Like I said, it's just Santa time. I just got done hiding the elf for my daughter. She just fell asleep.
Me too.
Before I took this call,
Same here.
Holding
how
strong.
Life changes.
Holding strong with no elf on the shelf. And I swear to God, the first parent in my daughter's preschool that introduces that to my daughter, I am going to find their elf and they're never going to find it.
Oh, man, you got to get on the elf because
you got to do it, man.
For good behavior.
My daughter's teacher has it. Like it's just there in the actual classroom.
Yeah. That elf will save you, man. That elf. It is. Yeah. She's scared to act wrong because she's worried the elf's going to stay.
It is an inevitable force. Yes.
Parenting tips on Talking in Ovals. Any kids that are listening, please do not be scared. Have kids. They're awesome. So speaking of the glory days, I want to jump back. So I think something cool that we've been doing here, Hyatt, is we've been giving our guests a good opportunity to kind of rehash a lot of the good things that they've done. And we're pretty fortunate, especially we had Geiger last episode. Now we have Ian. We've had some really good runners that have opportunities to come and talk about themselves. So Ian, I want you to kind of jump in. What was your start in running? Where did you find out like, hey, I can be pretty good at this. Let me keep going with it.
Yeah, so it's weird where I started, man, because I wouldn't call myself a runner, right? I started out, I was a soccer player all my life, like played on elite soccer teams, like Twin County Magic growing up. We were like this elite traveling team. And, I went into Manchester High School and I got moved up to varsity soccer my freshman year. Halfway through, I got moved up, and with Coach Misoff, who we all love.
Absolutely,
and right after that would be great. And so right after the season, Coach said, "You're going to be my starting midfielder next year." I was kind of right behind a senior Carmine Gerline, who I think is the best soccer player in Manchester. Went to Bucknell, was awesome. So. He was like, "Hey, I want you to come out to indoor track. We're going to get you stronger. We're going to keep you in shape." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's great, Coach. Let's do it." So he got me into indoor track, and so we went to Red Bank to run a race. Our first race was like a freshman race, and all I had really, oh my god, right? And all I had really run to that date was maybe remember when they used to do the intro Sarco. Quest.
Yeah. The intro. Yeah, where he was everyone running, and he even calls the fat guy. He's like, "Come on, fat,
right?
Let's go, keep up, fat."
Right? Even Coach Musoff used to go on that run.
Double trail. We'd run a double trail.
So I had barely run, and me and a guy named Scott Simpson were soccer players that Coach was forcing us to run indoor track. And Coach was like, "Well, I'm throwing you in the mile. It's your first race." So we get seated, and me and Scott Simpson are in the first heat. And we were so pissed off at Musoff. We're like, we're going to kill Musoff. Musoff with a dick. Like, we were so mad at him. We were so scared that we were just going to get our ass kicked our first race. Like, we knew nothing. We weren't in shape. These guys were warming up in like cross-country camp shirts and stuff like that. And me and Scott are just like, oh my God. So, the race starts. I end up getting second. I ran like 5:15 or 5:17, somewhere around there. I ended up getting second to a guy named Rob Dobson from Modern Day.
If you ever run there at Red Bank, 5:15 in your first race there, that is running.
That's like a 5:05. That's almost sub 5. That's close.
I only ran there my freshman year, and then we got banned because we got in a fight with Tundra Reese. So.
That's right. That is right. I remember that. That's crazy. That is funny. That's why you guys were never at the county championships.
Never counties or the shorts because we got in a fist fight with high school East and my.
That is right. Holy cow! I forgot that.
Coach said, "Screw it. We are never running in Red Bank again." So I never did.
You're probably better off, man. That place could break you going around those little turns, man.
Shin splints and knees and everything.
Yeah.
You had to wear waffle flats, and waffle flats have no support. Honestly, thinking back at it, we were probably all better racing and trainers there. The times are going to be slow anyway, and our feet were getting destroyed running at Red Bank.
It was 10 laps. It was 10 laps to the mile on like a wrestling.
10 laps to the mile. Yeah. I hope nobody runs at that place anymore.
No,
there's no way they can. There's no way. And then people would just run out on the track because it was just this tight and closed place. People would be on the track constantly.
Oh, got it.
I got DQ'd one race. And the freshman sophomore race, our sophomore year, because somebody stepped in front of me when they were jumping, and I had to go around them. I was literally going to hit them, and I went into the inside to avoid them, and they DQ'd me from the race. Musoff went nuts.
Well, you took 3 steps inside the line. If you take 3 steps inside the line, 3 more steps without the intention of coming back. Such a stupid rule.
Musoff went nuts.
And after every race there, it felt like you just swallowed fire. Your throat would hurt so bad.
Yeah.
So Red Bank happens. You run a 5:15. You get second. It was at that point that kind of you realized Musoff might have just signed his own death warrant for soccer there.
Well, it was funny because I still and you know how Musoff has when he, Musoff came right up to me. You remember Musoff when he knew he was right about something and he had that shit-eating grin. He was like, "Hey," So Musoff runs up. He's like, "I told you you'd be all right." And so, but
the dog from Snidely Whiplash. We gave him that picture in high school.
Right. So going through that year, I still did not care. Like, I shouldn't say I didn't care. I was competitive, so I cared. Don't get me wrong. But I was still a soccer player just trying to keep in shape for soccer, you know? And then outdoor tracking. So I ended up breaking 5 at Princeton. I think it went like 455, 457, somewhere. So I ended up breaking it. And then I went to outdoor track. I was going to play baseball. And Conover got in hold of me. And then when Conover gets a hold of you, you're done.
Yeah, between Musoff and Conover, I'm happy I didn't have that. Jesus Christmas.
Oh, my God. They were intimidating guys, man. But I'll tell you what, they were unbelievable people to have in your life, you know?
Yeah.
So Conover got a hold of me, and I ended up running track, which was okay because I was a really good soccer player. I felt like I could have played some sort of like college level soccer. Baseball, I was just like an average baseball player. And Conover's like, dude, you want to go hit like number 6 or 7 on the you know, the freshman baseball team, or do you want to come over there and win a varsity letter? And at that age, like, you're 15 years old. Like, that was, remember like how big it was to get your first varsity letter? You're like, dude, you know, like, so I was like, I just went over there because I was like, yeah, I want a varsity letter. I wasn't even thinking about like, hey, I can go over there and like score at the county meet or can do this. So I still did not really like have an interest in running. Like, I mean, I remember we had the Ocean County Championships, and I went and played in a soccer game because I would refuse to miss a soccer game. And then my dad drove me to the Ocean County Championships, and I went right into the mile and ran the mile. And I ran like a 4:36 or something like that. Placed like 6th. It was, you know, and it was kind of funny. And then it was that summer where my dad, you know, I think Musoff was even, you know, the ringleader behind it. He was just, you know, like, hey man, like, this kills me to do, you know, and he's like, but you might think about running, you know. It's something we have to have a conversation about.
I'll say something about John Musoff. He's passionate about his guys. He loves winning. But man, if he thinks he could steer your life in a better direction, he's going to do that. That's one thing I've always said about John Musoff. He's a really good history teacher, but the man teaches more about life than he ever did about academics. That's not a shot at him. He was just a life coach in general.
Oh, 100%. He's for you. You know, I mean, listen, the guy impacted my life in so many ways. I mean, I was best friends with his son going through high school.
Yep.
I mean, he was a mentor to me. He was my indoor track coach. He was a friend as we got older. I mean, I've gone on a boat with just me and Mr. Musoff fishing. You know, he's become a friend as I became an adult, you know. So
funny,
you know,
thing too. I'm sorry. Is
no.
You know, like, Ian might not have said that, you know, he liked to run, but his freshman year, everybody in the county definitely knew, like, who is this kid from Metro? Because I was a junior, and in that mile race, I was 3rd or 4th in like a 4:33, and I'm like, this kid is a freshman, and he's like almost that might have been the last time that I ever beat Ian in a race in high school. But like, we all knew that we're like, this kid's gonna be elite, and we're right.
Yeah, so well, and then I ended up running cross country. They talked me into it, and but it was weird, man. I was still a soccer player playing cross country. I wouldn't give up soccer. I ended up doing 5th in the county that year in cross country, so I was doing well, and I ended up doing good in track. But it wasn't really until the summer going into my junior year where I was like, all right, soccer's done. You're not a soccer player. You're a track guy. And I went after it. I trained all summer long. I went to a cross country camp over at TCNJ. I got away from, like, you know, and it wasn't just about learning from Steve Dolan, who was the coach there. It was more just saying, like, hey, it's game time. Like, I'm going to get away from my friends. I'm going to get away from summer. I'm going to get away from my parents. I'm just going to dedicate 4 days to getting my head right before going into the track season or cross country season. And, you know, my big breakthrough was at, like, short coaches race. I ended up beating Steve Slattery, who was like the man, you know, like Steve Slattery was running. Yeah, Steve Slattery was running, like, as a freshman, like low 420s.
He was a monster. He was an absolute monster.
Yeah. So, I mean, I ended up out-kicking Slattery to win the short coaches race in like 16:10, which, you know, is probably a lot slower at Homedale now, but it's, you know, he went in low 16s at Homedale back in the day.
We've talked about Homedale now, how, like, it's very manicured. There's not really roots.
Oh yeah.
And like
kids are just
kids are just faster now.
And I guarantee
100%.
There's no elbowing up that front hill anymore. Like I remember that front hill, getting up it without falling or being tripped or elbowed in the chest was actually an accomplishment on that first hill, because you knew each other. You were all friends off the course. Like you were cool with each other and everything. The moment you stepped foot on that line, you looked at the person you knew was going to finish next to you and goes and be like, all right, I'm going to put you in the dirt. Somehow you're going in the dirt.
Out of my high school, my coach, we were not allowed to be friends with anybody at my high school.
Damn Tom's River kids.
No, South man, like we were like we couldn't talk to anybody. It was crazy.
So junior year
which
comes
is funny
out
because I do remember that. I do remember not liking. No, it's funny. I remember hating the South cross country team.
Yep.
But I remember loving the South track team. I remember those dudes were like, we had such a good rivalry with them. You know,
well,
like the Hester brothers and all those guys.
Well, because like we were. I was B South my sophomore junior year. We were B South, and then we were A South my freshman senior year. Like we had 2 years where it was us and Pinelands who were really good in cross country then.
Very good with Scott Clayton.
Scotty Clayton was my year. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a stud. UPenn. You know? But yeah, so it was my junior years really took off. I beat Slattery that year. I actually probably ran my fastest times my junior year because I didn't have as much pressure as being like the guy. Like we won our state. We actually won the county, the shore, and the state titles easier our junior year than we did our senior years for a couple of reasons. The competition wasn't as good, and we had CJ Anderson, who was also a stud. Ooh. You're talking about a South Carolina Gamecock, a Division I athlete. So we were already winning county title. Like I won the county titles as a junior. Hester won the county titles as a junior. So we were already ready county titles, and then you throw in CJ Anderson, who was a stud. Doing that, we actually won. So I got to run a little faster and not worry about tripling and doubling every week. And so my junior years I really took off. And then once you make Foot Lockers, I made Foot Lockers like as a senior. Foot Lockers is like, at least back in the day, I know things have changed now, but when you were a Foot Locker finalist, that was the same as being McDonald's All-American in basketball or Under Armour.
Foot Lockers
you were the guy. Still. Like you were like you were a stud. That was it. Like I remember going like looking up and be like, oh my God, like watching ESPN and being like, oh my God, those guys are Foot Locker guys, you know, seeing guys wear Foot Lockers, like, oh, I want to do that one day, you know, and then to do it was awesome, you know, and I was only the fourth in the 27-year existence or what it was. I was only the fourth shore conference guy to make Foot Lockers. So for such a prestigious area of running, we weren't producing a lot of Foot Locker guys. I was the second Ocean County guy and the first since the 80s, who was also actually a B South guy, a guy from Central.
Yes.
And then that was kind of where like the recruiting got, you know, once you make Foot Lockers, recruiting gets crazy. That's when it got, you know, pretty heavy. It was kind of heavy, but then it got, you know, very heavy.
I always felt that it was a lot harder for the Jersey runners because we do have 8 meet of champs. Most other states, they end it like the group meet. Mm-hmm. So like it's an extra week of just all out running and
all out racing. Back to back too.
Yeah.
You know?
So I definitely felt that was, you know, definitely a disadvantage for some of the Jersey athletes.
And New Jersey's a pack. New Jersey's probably, I feel, and I think it was proved, we ran away. We used to run away with the team titles in the Northeast.
Oh yeah.
You know, so it's like,
I mean, you had some studs too. You had Slattery. Did you have
Merard Campbell? Merard Campbell made Foot Lockers with me.
Were you there when with Matt L. Muccio from
Matt L. Muccio's before me? Yeah. But you had
Adam Daniels from Seton Hall Prep.
Correct. Yeah, he made it. You know, so you had a lot of good guys coming through. Yeah, I mean, we sent 3 of the top 8. My year were from Jersey, and the first guy to miss was actually a Jersey guy too. 9th place is Nathan Cisco from North Hunterdon, which was like a running powerhouse in Jersey for a while. You remember how good North Hunterdon was for all those years, Dave?
Because we were Group 3 and we always got second at the groups in XC because North Hunterdon always won it.
Yeah, North Hunterdon was studs. They had a guy win the Meet of Champions, I think, my sophomore year.
My year, my senior, Robinson.
Yeah. So they were there. And the only guy from Jersey to win Foot Lockers at the time was
Brendan
Brandon
Heffernan.
Heffernan, and he was from North Underton. Yeah.
Yeah. So
A running powerhouse, man.
Yes.
So you were jumping in junior year. Junior year, you set not only the indoor mile record in Manchester, but the overall mile record for Manchester Township, period. Talk about what it was like now as you're going in there, starting to break records at a school that even before you did what you did has a really good and proud track tradition. You know, we have Andrew Valman, we have so many other guys coming through, and now here you are setting the standard for distance in the whole entire school. What was it like now jumping in and clearly setting records and records that I think are going to stay around for a pretty long time?
Yeah, man, it was fun. It was one of the better times of my life. And it wasn't just about the individual records. Like, I mean, it's like the thing that it's like the right thing to say, but it's really not. It was really, dude, my best memories, like my record's eventually going to be broken. The only one that the indoor mile one's going to stay around a little longer, but I mean, the kids are getting so fast now. It's only a matter of time. Right. But the team titles, man, you go into that gymnasium in Manchester, look up and dude, they had to start combining pennants for us because we were winning so much stuff. If you look up, they'll put like Ocean County and Shore Conference championships. We were winning so many banners. They had to combine banners. I mean, we won the Ocean County championships our sophomore years, you know, then won our junior, then we won our senior, we won everything. And it was just such a fun time because like, we were just such a good group of like friends and, you know, and our family got along and like Mr. Conover just like orchestrated just such a dynasty, just finding the right guys and keeping us in the mindset and then keeping, you know, as we started to taste success, like keeping our heads in check, you know, and just, dude, it was really like the perfect storm, man. So it was fun because like it's great when you have success. Don't get me wrong. I love the individual success. I'd be sitting here lying if I tell you that wasn't cool, you know, that I don't have like a scrapbook at home that me might, you know, show my kid. Like that's 100% all true. But when you're doing it with a bunch of guys and they're winning too, dude, that is awesome, you know? So it was like a special thing because like it's cool when you're winning and your boys are winning and then you're all winning, you know, like, you know, we're winning the Shore Conference and state meets and Kevin Hester's win the jumps and Dave D'Ambrezi's win the hurdles. It's just like, it's such a cool thing. And it was such a unique thing to experience. I mean, we were the number one team in the state of New Jersey, regardless of school size. And we were the number one team ever in Ocean County, you know? And
that's definitely one of the best group of athletes I've seen because you guys had every event covered.
And you talk about like how many Division I athletes came off of that too, those teams.
Who was the guy? No, wait, was it Brian Ernie?
Well, Ernie was right before us. So you had Ernie before us, who was the shot put. Then my junior year, Mike Ruff was the javelin guy who won Shore Conference.
Yes.
He won javelin, he won sectionals, and all that. He was a stud. But I mean, you had CJ go Division I, you had Kevin Hester Division I, you know, me go Division I, Kevin Anderson, and then guys like Garrett Conover, who nobody really thinks of. Like,
went to Tiffin, not Tiffin. No, where'd he go?
Townsend.
Who's that?
He coached over at Tiffin, but where he went to Townsend, and he was an All-American.
Yeah, Garrett Conover was like one of those guys. He was just like, he never got credit because like we were winning and he was coming. I mean, Garrett Conover was third in the Shore Conference and people were forgetting about him. You know, that's how good our team was. Like he was the guy that did everything. He ran the 4x4. He ran the 4x8. He was top 10 in the county in the cross country race. He was like that guy you plug in and be like, hey, Garrett, do this. And he would do it and do it well. So
I think Garrett was kind of a goofball though, even though Garrett's awesome to do, he's just kind of a goofball.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
So you go to high school, you have all this success, you're now getting recruited, you find yourself at Penn State. You know, height of the Joe Paterno era, football's good, you know, white and blue, the whiteout games, and the track program is pretty damn good. You're going in there. What's it like now jumping from Manchester, which at the point you were there was a really high level program, a really well-run program, practices were tough, but now you're in the point where you're a county champion, Shore Conference champion, state competitor, meet of champs competitor, all this. And now you're with everyone who is at that level at Penn State. What was that like jumping into that?
Well, you know what? It's great. You know, I remember my seat because, you know, I won, you know, like a lot of these guys, I won meet of champs and stuff like that. And like, you know, like, and I remember our first year, the captain came in there and one of his things was like, hey, raise your hand if you're a state champion here. And everybody raised their hand, like 85% of the room. He goes, everybody is. Nobody gives a shit. Lever, he goes out the door, you know? And that was just like humbling, you know, just being around a bunch of like, you know, guys that were just like studs and just seeing all this crazy competition. And
so, Ian, I got to tell you a great memory from when you came back. I was at the high school. It was after my freshman year. I think it was sophomore year. We started training. I committed to do XC, and you started running with me. And, you know, I think you were in your senior year at Penn State at that point, junior or senior year. And I remember, you know, we're running. I'm like, you know, what's some advice you would give me? And you're like, you want to hear some advice? He goes, my coach said to us freshman year, you guys all think you've done something from track coming out of high school because you were all good. But you know what you realized? You haven't done shit. And I was sitting there and I was like, there you go. That's about right. That was one of my fondest memories. And it stuck with me because it's true.
Harry Groves, right?
Check pretty quick. Yeah, good old Harry Groves.
Now,
he was
were you there when Claphouse was there?
I missed Jay. He was gone, you know. He didn't stick around long, you know.
No.
I got in, to be honest with you, if we're being honest, I got in like towards the end of Penn State was going through a downswing. We were trying to bring it on an upswing. Like Harry Groves was like Joe Paterno. Yeah, he was this legendary coach that did nothing but win and was the Olympic coach. Like, you know, you can't. I mean, if you look at his resume, you're like, holy shit, this guy's done everything. But I got there, Groves was in his 70s, you know, and he was having trouble recruiting. He was just not adapting well to, I guess, the new distance runner, kind of like the same thing Paterno was having and, you know, Bowden, like, you know, and you see like the Syracuse coach Boeheim seems to be going through it now. It's like, you know, sometimes people don't adapt and Groves probably, you know, was having trouble and, you know, and that's why we were going through, you know, especially me. Like, I mean, it was tough running for him in the beginning. I mean, I loved him. Like, Groves is a father figure to me, and you know, he's now passed, and I don't want to, you know, I value my time at Penn State. It was amazing, you know. But it was a little bit of a downswing at Penn State because, you know, my recruiting trip to Penn State, I mean, Groves forgot I was coming and I ended up watching his son's basketball game with my dad. You know, like,
that's
you know,
convincing.
Like, you know, like I came on a Sunday, like it was like a Sunday before school even started. Like nobody knew I was coming up. It was tough, man. You know, so
I used to hear a lot of Harry Groves story from Claphouse.
Yeah, you probably heard it from Jay, because I know that's why Jay turned, and it was tough. But I believed in Groves. Groves believed in me. He's like what I saw in a college coach. Like he didn't give a shit, you know. He was just a hard-nosed Jersey guy that, like, you know, would throw around F-bombs and tell you to go screw yourself, you know. And I loved him, you know. And that was my type of guy, you know. He didn't take shit, you know. And that's what I loved about him. But so we were a little bit on a downswing when I got there, and Groves kind of started to reinvent himself when I was there. We went from being one of the worst Big Ten teams to one of the best Big Ten teams. So I got to see Penn State kind of do like a full circle when I was there. And it was kind of nice to see Coach like reinvent himself and, you know, he was National Coach of the Year the 1 year. So it was fun getting to see that and experiencing that and just, you know, but yeah, going there was just, it's tough running Division I college coming out of high school because you don't know what you're ready for, especially like me. I wasn't ready. I was a faster distance runner. Like I could run 49 seconds in high school in a 400, you know? So like I had a lot of foot speed. So like all of a sudden I'm running 40 miles a week. I think a double lake is far, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know you guys can, like you talk about a long run. For me, I think it's a double lake. All of a sudden I show up to Penn State and I'm running 100 miles a week, you know? And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like my body can't keep up.
Yeah.
Just the 5K to the 10K it's double. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like when you realize you're sitting there and you're coming off a high school training and a hard run, you're jamming down like 6:45, 7-minute pace. And that's pretty hard in high school. Yep. Then you get to college and cruising pace is 7 flat. You're cruising at 7:15. And then I don't care who it is, to a T, that last mile's a race. Every
Yes.
freaking time that last mile, people are throwing the hammer down. You're telling
Always.
yourself you're having a good time. You're running. You're jogging. You're like, I got running. Like, we're not gonna throw the hammer down. Then all of a sudden, there's about a mile left, and boom, somebody goes, and everyone goes.
yeah.
And anyone that's ever run collegiate, like any sort of distance running, knows that's exactly how it goes down. And
Oh,
it's a little
100%.
ridiculous.
Yeah. It's funny, man. It's funny. You'd be sitting there coach used to make us practice on Sundays. And like,
Oh yeah,
like normal college kids, we would go out on Saturdays if we weren't traveling. Because, that's the thing about being an NCAA athlete, especially in track. You don't get many weekends out. So you'd go out on a weekend and you'd get your chance to party. And then all of a sudden you'd be on a 13, mile run. And then somebody would start to go at like mile 9 and you'd be like, you son of a bitch. All right, here we go.
Yeah. The Sunday morning sweat it out. You'd be drinking that night, have to be there in the morning on Sunday. And it's like, all right, here we go. We're doing Sunday 10, re-drink your beer for the first 3 and start to run the next 7.
Yeah. Like, who's going to be that guy? And you're like, oh, you got So, but it was fun, man. Track was fun. Running pen, it was just a difference. That for me was the hardest part because like I was just not used to like the mileage and like the not being hardcore. Coach Conover treated us like we were Division I athletes. Somebody had said to me in high school, like, you want to be a college athlete, start training like one. And like, so coach was doing that. I mean, I'll never forget. We ran a dual meet at Homedale. And we crushed them. And coach on the way home rerouted the bus and made everybody run the Homedale Park cross country course. Distance runners, weightlifters, everyone. We had to run it twice. So like we had just run a race at home. Like, who does that? What coach does that? But we loved it. Like, that's how bought into Coach Conover we were. That's how much he like we were all in, man. I never seen anything like that. Like, to this day, like even my college team, I don't know if we were all in, like Coach Conover had us all in, it was just something special about that man and that team, it's just, he had it. And, we believed in him so much, man. And he believed in us so much and just in life in general. It was just such a cool thing.
Success will do that. Success will certainly gain loyalty and all sorts of trust like that. So you talked about NCAA getting there, the adjustment and difficulty. You mentioned recruiting a little bit, that after Foot Lockers, it blew up, and I didn't have a major recruiting process. I had maybe like 10 schools I was considering, and I narrowed it down.
Yeah.
Talk about yourself. After Foot Lockers, what was that like? I think the better question is, what major school didn't offer you?
I heard from, this is going to sound terrible. Like, I think I heard from almost everyone. I think all of us, we go to Foot Lockers, you hear from everyone,
Yeah.
I don't know. Some harder than others, I rounded it down. I took an official visit to Kentucky. I took an official visit to Nebraska. I took an official visit to Penn State. And then as I was going through my process, there's a couple other schools I was really looking into. And then we decided to stay closer to home. That was kind of the decision I made with my parents. So we really honed into Penn State, just because I actually, I visited unofficially Rutgers, but I just didn't think, the program was where Penn State was. I really liked Monmouth just because of Coach Joe. I wanted to run for Coach Joe.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
It was hard. It was just hard. Like, I went there unofficially. I wanted to run for Coach Joe really bad.
I don't think anyone recruited the Shore Conference harder or better throughout his whole career than Joe. If there was a big runner in Ocean County, especially, he was at their practice, coming up to them, introducing himself. Every coach knew who he was in the area, and he was just such a nice guy, just a good dude overall. And even when you didn't go to a school, if he saw you at a meet, went out of his way to say hi to you. Just an overall good guy.
Yep.
And just what he was doing with the athletes that got there. He had
Incredible.
Some studs there.
My God. He had Dylan Capwell there when I was coaching over at Marist and they were in the MAC. Dylan was an NCAA competitor, a 148 guy.
Yeah.
He was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, he really was a phenomenal coach. And like I said,
Allie Wilson over in the pro circuit. Allie is running really well in the 800 in the pros.
Yeah, he developed it, and I saw that, and I wanted that. I really but it was hard at the time to compare Penn State to Monmouth. No disrespect to Monmouth.
Absolutely.
You're talking about Big Ten with NEC. Monmouth with NEC at the time. Yep. You're talking about a lot different financial offers that they could give me. And it was tough. But I ended up talking to my parents. We decided to stay within 8 hours. We thought my grandma was really sick at the time. And we knew she, wasn't going to, it was a matter of time. So I wanted to be close. So we kind of like really honed in onto like, we felt like six, maybe 8 hours at the most was where we kind of been. It didn't leave me much choices. Like, Naval Academy was thought of, but like they wanted me to go to a prep school for a year because of, my academics weren't great for the Naval Academy, I guess to say. But so we ended up, we ended up choosing Penn State. It just fit where, it fit at the time where it was good for my family and just running in a big program and running a school that I always was fond of, and it's kind of where I wanted to be.
Before you brought up your grandma, I was going to bust her balls about the sports and choosing between Nebraska football, Penn State football, and Kentucky basketball. But now that you brought up grandma, that would seem kind of inappropriate to do. At least I would have done it if we were on a long run together and broke your balls anyway. On a podcast, probably not.
They were all good official days, man. It was fun. It was good recruiting, and but Penn State's kind of where it ended up being, and it was a good choice.
So at what point do you feel like you finally got used to the whole college setting and everything started to kind of fall into place at that level?
Because you ran a pretty damn good mile time in college too. Your mile PR is pretty good.
It did, but it took me for a long time. I was injured like crazy in the beginning. Like looking back now, and then I know now, Penn State probably from a sports aspect probably wasn't the right fit. It wasn't. They were more of a longer distance program. Right. I probably would have been better going to like a UConn, running with Dan Wilson and all those guys up there that were more mid to lower distance. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the best fit. And I got hurt a lot in the beginning. And I'm not blaming that. It was what it is. It was, I could have done things differently, could have taken care of my body differently. It was just a lot of it's on me, but it's just their training module there probably didn't fit. It took me a long time to adjust for it. So I was hurt a lot. The first 3 years I was always hurt.
I remember you had a toe problem for a little while that nagged the shit out of you.
Yeah. It took me to probably like my redshirt junior year to really start dialing in and having success, and I got used to the mileage. I got used to the program. I kind of adapted, but it took me a while. And then I had a lot of success. Our team started having a lot of success. We started doing real good in the Big Tens. Coach Groves started really recruiting some good guys. We got a couple guys from Canada, ran some good Penn relays, but it took me a while to adjust, man. And, could have loved run a little faster at Penn State. Groves was old school. He didn't, Groves he believed, and I kind of agree with him, man. He didn't believe going around the country and chasing times. He didn't believe going to Stanford relays and all these, and having rabbits in there. Yeah, he didn't believe that. He said that's not track and field. Track and field is going to have, and if you look at Penn State's back in the day, we used to run a lot of quad and dual meets. He thought, hey, getting 3 schools together and competing and finding who the best track team is, that's real track and field. Going to NCAAs where there's 300 schools and some guy wins 2 events and that school's 5th in the country because they won 2 events, but they have a crappy track team, that's not track and field.
I wish they bring dual tri and quad meets back in conference. I feel like that was amazing.
And we did that a lot. Penn State did that a lot.
I feel like your major conferences still do that.
Quad meets, man. Yeah.
I feel like your major conferences will still do that with their rivals. With some of the Ivy Leagues will still do that. Like your Princeton, your Columbia and stuff will get together and go to war.
UCLA and USC do it all the time.
UCLA, USC, Dartmouth jumps in there now, especially because Dartmouth's middle distance program is incredible. So you get there, Penn State. You made a statement to me that I want to address, and I want people to hear because, we're all sports fans here. All 3 of us are pretty big sports fans. Mm-hmm. And you said to me that you believe that cross country and track is the hardest sport by a long shot to be successful for in college. How are you going to back that one up?
Well, I don't even think it's close. And I have this argument constantly with one of my best friends who's a coworker that was a Division I baseball player. And here's why it's hard, especially a cross-country runner. So here's an example. You're a cross-country runner in college. So you got to show up in August. You show up to camp in August. You run a cross-country season. And then you have to run an indoor track season. And then you have to run an outdoor track season. And if you go far enough, if you're good enough and you run the NCAAs, you're running into late June, early September, or early July. So you go almost a full year of 3 conference championships, 3 NCAA championships, United States championships, and be a student athlete. Or most sports, and I'm not diminishing any sport because they all work hard, but if I'm a soccer player, I got 1 season in the fall. If I'm a baseball player, I got 1 season in the spring. Now, I'm not saying that these guys aren't grinding it out in the offseason because I've watched them. I've been in, facilities where I see these guys going after it. But to have the pressure to go get yourself and the mind right, mentally and physically, for 3 straight seasons without a break, and be a student athlete, dude, that's hard, And the other side of it too, and this is where me and my buddy argue a lot, track is an international sport where everybody does it. And when you're a Division I track, if you're the best soccer player, the best baseball player, you usually go to a professional circuit once you're done. If you're the best distance runner and you're the best distance runner in Europe or Australia, you come and you run Division I cross country and Division I track. Yep. So when I stepped to the Big Ten championships, my 1 year, I had Alan Webb to the left of me. I had Nick Willis, who was from New Zealand and was the 3rd place in the Olympics. I had Nate Brennan, who is a Canadian Olympian.
They're all Michigan guys.
Dude. Yep. Dude, you are, Iona made a living, getting all the best European guys to come over and run.
Iona was so good. And they're still good. They're still one of the top 10 programs in the nation.
Yep.
They're not finishing second every year,
that's
but
my argument for that. When there's, football is just just the United States. It's an international sport and the best guys come here and they run NCAAs
year round too.
I think another argument too, to support you, kind of like what we talked about earlier, is if you're a distance runner, everything doubles. The furthest you are running in high school is 5K cross country or 3,200 meters. You go to college, you have a 5K on the track, you have a 10K. Your cross country is 5 miles shortest, and then 10K. It's crazy. Oh yeah, and there's steeplechase. So your whole sport changes. Whereas football is still football in high school and college, and soccer is soccer. Everything just gets even shot put gets heavier. Everything is harder.
Changes. Yep.
So, Ian, was there any consideration going pro? You get done with Penn State, you get a 404 mile. That's no slouch. You're a beast of a miler.
That's great.
Definitely a lot. Probably teams would have loved to have you. Was there consideration going pro and maybe trying to get faster or break 4, really mix it in?
Dude, I honestly thought about it for a while, and I was going to do it. I was going to train for a while, but I you know what? I love track. Don't get me wrong. Track. I just watched the NCAA cross country championships. I streamed them from my phone the other day.
That was
we're a bunch of nerds,
right? So, which was actually a really good race too.
Tiebreaker rule, though. I hate the tiebreaker.
It was pretty fun, but I wanted to. Cross country wasn't that wasn't my heart. I was a soccer player. I was, I wanted to do other things. And I had this conversation with, guy you guys all know, Travis Musoff, one time, because we were talking about right after his baseball career. And he was just
and he was trying, he went after it in Alaska really hard. He, and he had a chance. He had a really good few seasons up there in Alaska in that Wooden Bat League after Marist.
He did, but Well, but then it got to a point where he was just dude, right after Marist, he was just dude, it got to a point where it's so refreshing just to go surfing and do other things that you wanted to do your entire life.
He ended up in Hawaii for so long after that.
Right. I know. Yeah, that guy lived the life for
civilization.
That guy lived the life.
Oh, absolutely.
But it was right. It was so good just to after doing something for so long to just do something else, there was other things in my life I wanted to do. I knew what professional career at the time, I'm not doing it now, that I wanted to do. And it was just, I want to do other things. I started playing soccer. I got back to soccer, and and it's branched off since then. I do other sports now, and I have not stopped playing sports once since I left. It was just I kind of wanted to do other things, and it was just it was kind of one of those things where like I felt like if I was going to chase it and do it, I needed to be 100% all in.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I could be 100% all in. I didn't want to do it 85. If like I was going to go and chase going sub 4 and try to like run in the Olympic trials and do all that, I needed to be 100% all in. And I just didn't want it at the time. And like, there's a little piece of me that like, hey, it would have been cool to do an under 4 and chase that. And because maybe I would have got it, maybe not. I don't know, and, but I just wanted other things in my life at the time, man. It was time for a change, And
it's hard too, man. Like you almost have to treat it like an actual job, but unless you're elite, you're not making money. And,
exactly.
So it's a very, very, very hard choice.
Very hard choice, and think about it. Unless you're that like less than 1%, nobody's making money in track and field. It would
unless you're like Alan Webb or something. He
was like the only guy. It would have been an expense on my parents' end. I would have probably had to go to like either Colorado or Palo Alto, or I know Coach Gerard had a thing going brewing in William Mary at one point, so I would have had to live somewhere else. And like I said, it definitely was some consideration, and a piece of me wanted to, but it was just I couldn't look myself in the mirror and just say, hey, we would have been 100% all in,
And it's interesting to hear you say that, because I had the pleasure, unfortunately Hyatt wasn't there for the interview, but the interview with Jonathan J. Marcus, who is one half of Marcus and Magnus on Coaching Podcast, which is one of the biggest podcasts to talk about track and field, because, him and Steve Magnus are just fantastic track minds. And, he coaches, one of the Brazilian record holder for the mile, and has coached a lot of big time runners, American, international. And he said one of the things he asks athletes when they text him that they want to, get trainings, he's like, is this for fun or are we all in? Because he said it's completely different. It's very different. Are we trying to win or are we just trying to play? And to hear you say that, it kind of confirms when you get to that level, it's true. If you weren't going to sit there, and if your goal, like the bottom line is, if you were going to go pro at your level, if your goal wasn't to become the Olympic champion, then what was the point? That's the thing. Yeah. At your level, it's Olympics or nothing at that point. And that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time and a lot of effort to really put in. It's just interesting that you being, an elite runner in college, because sub 405 is pretty damn elite. An elite runner in college having to make that tough decision, but mirroring exactly what one of the best coaches in the nation kind of said. So it's cool to kind of juxtapose that, and that mindset is there. Yeah. So let's jump over. You wanted to talk about, and we're going to be fairly quick with this, because we've had a great show so far, but we can talk for like 7 hours, but I don't think people want to hear a 7-hour podcast. We're not Joe Rogan. We're not getting high over here on set and having some ridiculous side conversations. So you were talking about how short conference kind of stacks up, and I think it's continued to stack up over the years pretty well to the other conferences, in all of New Jersey. Yeah. Where do you feel it stacks up? Could we confidently sit here and say short conference is the best conference in New Jersey?
Oh, I think it was easily going through, even for the years before me and the years where I kind of like left off, I guess, quote unquote, following it. There was just a baton constantly being handed down for a while, because you had, you had Rich Morris and Jackson and Brian Spoonier, and for Asbury Park, both meet champions guys. And you had Eamon Blanchard from Lacey and Scott Moyle from Brick, who were meet champions guys. I think McCafferty from Central was second.
And my teammate Chris Greer won the 800 outdoors. And the 600 indoors. He was.
And then in my time, we had Craig Forries coming out from Colts Neck.
Craig Forries.
We had guys like Chris Carl,
Bobby Andrews.
Well, listen, Bobby was really good. Brandon,
CBA in cross country.
Yeah, CBA.
Yeah, all the CBA guys. Yeah.
Who was actually now being coached by Sean McCafferty.
I know. How funny is that? Yeah. It's funny. Crazy. It's always like there was just so much competition. I mean, and in fairness too to the argument, it's such a large conference too.
Well, yeah. It's it's 2 counties. So
two counties, and just a lot of teams. And you throw CBA, who's always going to be a juggernaut. So you're always going to get a top guy just because CBA is always going to have a top guy, I think my main guys when I was there, I had the Brian Bennett.
Yep.
And then Bill Hoffman was my year. Brian was 1 year older, but Brian was like more injury. I mean, that kid was such a talent. It's like he'd be injured for like 5 months and step on the track and like place third and meet champions. And
by mistake, he'd run fast.
Yeah, those guys are just. But I mean, it was just such a. I mean, the short conference in track, especially in track, it was like we were such a good team. My senior year in track, I mean, like I said, we were rated one of the top 10 teams in the short conference ever, top 10 teams and top team in Ocean County. And, like we had a hard time in our county because one of the other best teams was Toms River South. You know, I mean, they had the Hester brothers or Tori Morris, and they're like that team was loaded, absolutely loaded. Like I had I remember going into the locker room one day and Coach Musoff and Coach Connor are sitting there and they're like, hey man, they're like, you're going to have to triple at the counties. Cause like, Charles Hester is going to win 3 events by himself and we need you to counteract them. And
they actually ran a 314 in the 4x4 at nationals, that team.
Yeah. That Toms River South team any other year would have easily won the county and short conference. They were that team was absolute studs. Like I said, Charles was the runner up at Meet of Champions in his event.
400.
And it just, him and his brothers.
Funny thing is I was home from college then. So like he couldn't find anyone. And so I was at the Meet of Champs and I'm the one who actually held his blocks in the MOC.
Oh, really? That's funny. Yeah, he ran fast then. Because he ended up losing to that guy Rob Gary from Lenape. It was a good race, and and Charles ended up going to Seton Hall for college. But that was we had Eric McCoo, and Red Bank. I mean the shore conference is such a prestigious track and field area. I mean we've had so many Olympic and Division I athletes come out of here. It's insane.
Which is crazy now because that's the one meet now that almost every athlete skips. In track is
the short conference.
Really? Short conference meet. Yeah, like they go counties and then a lot of them they get ready for their sectionals because it's just so much.
I had great memories of watching the Cox brothers.
That was
Cox brothers and Paul Fay go to war. Like that was one of my greatest memories was watching Paul Fay and the Cox brothers, Southern and Central, just absolutely go to war and drop a 47s in freaking high school running 47s in the 400. Yep. But that was the depth of the conference, though. Right, a lot of kids now skip it because they feel that every other conference just has their county, and then they have that week off, and then sectionals. Whereas in short conference, it's counties, shores, and then sectionals.
Really, I can't believe they switched that.
Also now too
mindset though. Like, why not get another race in?
That's when most schools also do their prom weekend, so kids skip it for the prom. Which is bullshit, but
you skip prom. I skipped my junior prom.
I didn't go to my.
See, that's the mindset. I didn't go to junior and prom.
I didn't go to junior or senior year
by himself.
So we had senior beach day. My senior year, the day of counties, we had senior beach day or something like that. Our conferences. Oh no, it was one of those sectionals, and I told it was Coach Panicu at the time, I think, and Shep was my coach, and I told Shep, I'm like, me and you'll remember Hyatt, me, Mike Smith. Zach Ash, we're not going to senior beach day. We are technically in school because we're just not doing that shit because we have a meet later. I'm not going to go sit out in the sun and bake in the sun. And then you're asking me to go and run me a competitive 800, him a competitive 32. Are you out of your minds? And fortunately they weren't stupid. And, Lister at the time, I told Lister, I'm like, you're going to fill in all the Scantrons and say we're there because it's a free day anyway. We're going to this damn meet. And he was like, oh, Alex, I understand. I don't always agree with you, but I'm with you on this one. And I'm like, thank you, coach.
That's funny. Good old Lister. Good old Chef, too.
Chef. I was fortunate when I was doing Sports Opinions podcast. I had Lister and Chef. I convinced them to come on, which was great.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. So
Chef was great, man. I got to coach with him for 1 year, man. So I ended up volunteering for a cross country and indoor season at Manchester when I got done, and they're like, they introduced me as Chef, and I'm like, this guy's the cross country coach. You couldn't have had a better coach, man. This guy was just, amazing. You know what they say, winners win. Chef's a winner.
Now he's one of the best throwing coaches in the whole entire state.
Dude, whatever Chef's going to do, he's going to be successful. Yeah, he's just got that mindset.
Such a great jump coach. I was fortunate enough to be the head girls coach there for about 4 years for winter and spring, and then just coaching with him. He's amazing.
Dude, phenomenal. Like he was just like, I was like, man, this guy, like, cause I was like, this guy's a West Virginia wrestling coach. He doesn't know anything. They just couldn't find anyone, And then like, I'm watching this guy. I'm like, yo, this guy knows his shit, like, and
I had the benefit of being coached by him. The man, what Chef doesn't know, he finds out. Number one, that's one thing about Chef. No one studies harder than him. Oh, nice. And number two, the motivational factor. Nobody motivates in my life to this day. I've had amazing coaches. I count both of you guys as my coaches. Ian, you're a mentor of mine. I was shooting for every record of yours, came well short, but I shot for them. And no one to this day have motivated me more than Chef. It has been more humble than Tom Scheffler in what he does. He will tell you all this to this day. I don't have anything to do with it. It's all my athletes. But enough about Chef. This is your podcast, Ian. No more Chef.
Yeah.
But
no more Chef.
So we ask all of our guests that have competed at Meet of Champs, won Meet of Champs in any sort of way. They have been talking now. I'm in New York. Sorry about that. New Jersey has been eliminating tournament of champions, things like that, left and right from all other sports. They were considering eliminating or really tweaking the Meet of Champs in XC and track in a big way. What's kind of your plea to them to not mess with something that's going well?
Dude, so I just found out about this the other day, and I was like, it blew my mind because it's like cross country is like one of the few pure championships out there, like because not many sports can like you can't like baseball can't, it's impossible to find out who's the best team in baseball because you have to play 100 baseball games. It's unrealistic. Same with football. Cross country is one of those sports where you find out who's the best team and the best athlete. It's beautiful because I don't know if there's a sport, maybe swimming, maybe gymnastics. I don't know, but maybe those two. I'm trying to think of what a sport that where you could determine who's the best in the state on one day, and like to not give kids that opportunity, like, because what are they now? So what are they doing exactly? They're trying to readjust it where it's not a team title. Is that right?
They were trying to take it away at first.
Yeah. So I believe they're trying to make it they're trying to just get rid of it and stop at the groups at first, but this year
that would be insane.
This year they tweaked it where only one team from each group qualifies and all the rest are based on time. But to me that just kills the small schools. Like your at-large teams, most of them come from group 4.
100%.
So like so they didn't do it this year, but it's like they just want to or make it like a 30 or 40 person individual meet only.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing with that too, and okay, like you've got your elite athletes. Like I want, like getting to the Meet of Champions. Like I won the Meet of Championship, so it wasn't about getting to Meet of Champions for me. It was about winning it, right? And guys like us, that like we were gonna go, but like. When I first got into running, there was guys that I'm a couple of my teammates, Joe Peluso, Bill Haspel, when I first started running, these guys, like their goal was to get to the Meet of Champions, and that was the thing they talked about because that's such a prestigious thing to run in that cross country for most of the kids in the race. Not your elite, take your elite kids out of it, like forget that. But most of your race, majority of your race, dude, that's their goal is just to get to that race, like to get that shirt. Yeah, to get that shirt, Meet of Champions, and wear that, that's what these guys' goal was. And they never got to the Meet of Champions, my buddies that I ran with, they were a year older than me. Like they never got the opportunity because we were never good enough in cross country to get there. But that's a for a lot of kids, your average runner, that's a big deal. It's just getting to that race.
That was me. I mean, I was fortunate enough where my team made it to Meet of Champs all 4 years of my high school career. 1 year we actually got we got 6. There was nothing better than going there with your 6 brothers. There was no.
Dude, 100%. Sometimes it's just about being in the game, man. Sometimes it doesn't matter if you get your ass kicked. Sometimes you just want to be in the game. Like that's it. And for because like not every kid's going to be able to win it, but just to be part of something, just to get on that starting line with the best in New Jersey, like, dude, that's a cool feeling, And
tracking cross country, it's so easy to do it. Like it's so
easy to do it.
It's not hard.
No brainer. No, I understand if they were taking it away in baseball or something like that because you say, hey, it's too many games for kids and too much traveling. I get it, but like you're talking about a 1-day meet like that really. Yeah, man, they're changing. Like it bothers me a little bit when they change things. Like like I hate when you have something good that they need to change it. Like I hate it when they change Foot Lockers, like when they made it larger and it was like, wait, but it was so prestigious.
It was
like, don't make it larger. It's like, don't stop changing something that's good.
Well, now they have 3 national meets in 3 national meets in outdoor.
And
it's crazy. We used to just go to Raleigh. That was it. You wanted to run a national championship. You went down to Raleigh, North Carolina. That was it. Or you went in indoors. You went to Boston up in there, and that was it.
It was so nice.
And what sucked this past year was it was the same weekend as me at Champs because everything got bumped back. So like most of the kids weren't even at MOC; they were at one of the 3 national meets.
Yeah, see, it's a shame, man. Like it's just like I don't know. Like
how are Jersey kids that go away to school in different states going to talk about meet a champs their freshman year and have all the other kids look at them and go, what the hell? What is that? Because they don't have that. No, many other states don't have meet a champs like we do. I know I'm up here in New York right now. They stop at their section. If they stop at their group in their section, they're considered, there's like 5 or 6 state champions. And to me, I'm like, no, you're not. You're not a state champion. The state champion in New Jersey was the meet a champion. You can be a group champion and have pride in that. That's a lot of pride, but you're not the state champ unless you won mocks. So, like you said, we decided who was the best in our state, both team and individual. So, it's something that, like I said, I think I'm really going to start to clip because we've had a lot of good athletes so far, a lot of meet a champion competitors and coaches. If they really start to tweak with this, I'm just going to go back and clip all of you guys and make a compilation and just send it to the freaking NJSIAA and be like, hear from your people. You can't ignore this. There's alumni of the meet. There's coaches that are currently there. Don't try and fix things that aren't broken.
No, that's one of the things, dude. I never thought it'd be touched. Like a meet of champions. It's like
it shouldn't.
That was like the holy grail type thing. It
just makes no sense. It
makes no sense. Like
there is no good reason.
I agree with it. I get like hearing your guys tell me why kids skip the short conference, even though that bothers me because I'm an old school. Like you run the short conference. I get it. I get it. I can hear playing 2 sides. I get why you as an athlete you'd say, all right, let's. But to the meet of champions, man, that's like that's holy. You're messing with the holy.
Who thinks about body preservation in high school, though? Let's be honest. What are these kids thinking? I did not care in high school. I wanted to run every weekend, every race, and run against the people I saw every week and try and whoop their ass. That was my goal. Who thinks of body preservation in high school? We
did rest to the very end. That was it.
You took a week or 2 off in between seasons if you were lucky, and that was it.
That was it. That's crazy, man. I don't know. It's change isn't always for the better,
No,
and it takes away the history of it too. That's the sad part because it's that's part of the history of it all. Is part of what makes it special.
Right? Like, can you imagine if you couldn't say that you won the meet champs? Like that's such a cool thing to have on your resume. Like I was the best. I was the best in the whole state in this event.
This whole state. Doesn't matter what school size you went.
Doesn't matter.
Nothing.
Can't take that away from you either. It's always yours.
It's always there.
All right, Ian. Thank you so much for coming on the show, brother. I really appreciate it.
No, man. Good catching up with you guys. I'm sure we could talk for hours.
We really could. Hi. Do you have anything else for Ian before we jump off?
No, man. It was just such an honor to have you on. Obviously, I was one of your competitors in high school, and to just I knew that you were going to be really good. I didn't know that you'd be like a champions winning because that's so hard to do, and to go to Penn State and to run 404. I mean, you should be extremely proud of everything that you achieved in your running career.
No, it was awesome, man, and it all started at Manchester, and and just they always say you meet the people that will mold you during your your high school. And it was true for me, Coach Musoff, Coach Conover, man, all that wouldn't have happened without those 2, man. I couldn't know them enough. They're father figures and, they paved the way.
And, and I'll kind of throw my last thing in here. I'm fortunate. I'm able to talk with Hyatt. He was a coach of mine. Able to talk with you here. You were a mentor of mine. And I have to close out this show with one of the last things that we really haven't talked for years at this point. Before I really hit you up, it's been a long time since me and you have chit-chatted. And I really think it might have fallen back on this. When I decided to go play football from junior into senior year, I remember one of the last things you said to me is, dude, you're a fucking idiot. And that was, I think, the last thing that you said to me, because you, along with everyone else, was pissed at me because we were primed to win B South. And I think that was the last thing that you said to me. And I'm happy that we're back now, finally, on speaking terms.
Yeah, and I'll still say that to you. You're an idiot for doing that. No.
That's fine. You're always allowed to, man.
I get it. Because listen, I was in the same thing you were with soccer. It was just, I try to convince the school to let me do both. And they told me I wasn't allowed that was the hardest thing, man. The hardest thing going through was watching those guys play in the state tournament, because that was my love, I love running, don't get me wrong. And like that, but that wasn't, I was a soccer player running for all those years, and it took a while to become a runner, and it's hard. It's hard when you love running and you get it. We all love running. I'm a fan of the sport. Like I said, I just watched the cross countries at my kitchen table on my pad. It's just like I'll never not love it. I still try to pay attention as much as I can. I talk to Coach Griff here and there, which Manchester, they step in shit with coaches. It's like one good coach after another.
Oh yeah.
It's like now they got Griff, who's probably the best coach in the county. It's like, and it's, but it wasn't, it wasn't where my heart was at times. So I get where you're coming from, it's just, it's hard. It's a hard decision. So I get where you were,
I had many wise words from Ian's on our run. None will stick with me more than dude, you're a fucking idiot. All right, everyone. Really appreciate you listening. Ian, do you have anything you want to shout out? Any social media you want to do, or is that not kind of your bag?
No, man. All good. Thanks for having me on, man. I enjoyed talking to you guys about track, man. It's fun bringing up old names and old members.
Absolutely. It was a great time again. Everyone, send us your PR. Ian, if you're going and running anything at our age, at our advanced ages, any 5K we do is a PR because we finished. If you go and run, send it to us. We'll give you a shout out, even though I still think you can run sub 18. I'm throwing that out.
No. I just actually signed up for a half marathon. I'm doing a Spartan trail race.
Oh.
And, when the hell am I doing that? May. Yeah, May. Yeah, May. I'm doing it. So I'm doing stuff like that. I like to do like 24-hour like Navy SEAL type stuff and stuff like that. No running. Just
you're becoming a self-hating athlete. You're one of those self-hating athletes now, just like abuse.
Yeah, I like that once in a while. But no running. I don't want to race anyone anymore. I'm done racing anyone. I'll play you in soccer. I'll play you in tennis. I'll go on a mountain hike with you, but no running.
All right, everyone. Thanks again for listening. Send us those PRs. Go on Twitter. Find us at Talking in Ovals. Everyone, we'll be back next week. So long, y'all.